Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. This is your brother Nafis Abu Zayd.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Isa Abu Isa. Alhamdulillah. We're doing another episode of our program it's called The Night Shift. Some people don't like the name, but we do this in the evening time, so that's the name that we gave it. And we created or came up with it to defend Islam from any type of cult characteristics or Hizbi partisanship or had that extreme characteristics. This is why we came up with this program.
Now, alhamdulillah, tonight's talk, inshallah, will be dealing with using general praise of the scholars as a form of Tazkiyyah. That we have seen a tweet or a couple of tweets that have been posted from our beloved brothers, may Allah preserve them, from Salafi Pub, first from M Pubs, of a lecture that took place, or actually a question that was asked by Sheikh, our elder, Sheikh Hassan al-Banna, Hafidhullah Ta'ala, pertaining to Hassan Somali, as well as Bilal Davis and Abu Khadija. And then second, it was another tweet that was mentioned about our brothers in Salafi Pub, Salafi Publications, from Sheikh Muhammad al-Mahadi al-Mekali, in terms of their being the best of the callers in the West. And these are no doubt general praises. We're going to start our talk off with the kalam of the ulama. This was taken about a year ago. However, the words are very pertinent. And inshallah ta'ala, the listeners, please pay attention to what Sheikh Ruhaili, Sheikh Suleiman Ruhaili Hafidhullah Jalla wa Ala is going to say in the following. So the questioner, he asked Sheikh Suleiman Ruhaili Hafidhullah Ta'ala, he said, what are the principles which makes one leave the fold of as-salafiya?
الإخراج من السلفية أمر عظيم يا إخوة.
The Sheikh, he starts off by saying that to take one out of the fold of Salafiya is a great affair, my brothers. It is a great affair, my brothers, to take one out of the fold of as-Salafiya.
الإخراج من السلفية أمر عظيم. ولذلك لا ينبغي لنا أن نعجل في هذا الأمر.
And he said this is why it is not befitting for us to be hasty in this affair. And it is not befitting for the students of knowledge to nominate themselves as rulers in this particular affair.
ولا ينبغي لطلاب العلم أن ينصبوا أنفسهم حكاما في هذا الباب. يعني من المؤسف أن نجد أن بعض طلاب العلم الصغار يحكمون على العلماء الكبار.
He said, unfortunately, we find that the smaller students, they place rulings upon the scholars, the kibar, the major scholars. Meaning, the smaller students, they issue verdicts on major scholars. And for those who don't understand what this means, then we're going to give you an example. Such as our beloved brother Abu Khadija had placed a statement about our beloved scholar, who is a major scholar, Sheikh Wasil al-Abbas, Hafidhullah, who actually teaches inside the Haram, the Muhaddith. And he mentioned about him that his statement, that he lied on him, he actually said this in public, that our beloved scholar, Sheikh Wasil al-Abbas, has actually lied on Abu Khadija. And also, it is mentioned that Salafi Pub, they mentioned that it is not the bab or the field of Sheikh Suleiman al-Suhaimi, Sheikh Salih al-Suhaimi, Hafidhullah, nor that of Sheikh Wasil al-Abbas is not their mutakhassis, their specialty in dealing with the affairs of Jahr wa Ta'dil. And dealing with...
Is that what Ahmed Najmi said about him?
Yeah, Sheikh Ahmed Najmi said that actually about them. However, they're saying that this is not their field.
Exactly.
So they are not the go-to when it comes to affairs of criticism and praise. And no doubt in this particular case, we can see an example that was a live example.
ولربما حكم الشاب أعني من تلقاء نفسه على شيخه الذي علمه السلفية.
And he said it's perhaps that this particular youth is issuing a ruling from himself on the very scholar who taught him Salafi. It's perhaps that this particular youth...
We got a live thing. I mean, we have brothers who benefited from Sheikh Yahya
Al-Hujuri,
Hafizullah, I got brother at Hassan Malik. We used to teach his books. Maybe was over there, may have learned from the sheikh, may have took him from him at some point, and from those scholars in Yemen. But these same people now put rulings on Sheikh Yahya. The same people you can't take from them now. But these are the same people you learn from and benefited from. It's a real live example of that.
Also, likewise, a lot of our esteemed brothers were dealing with the Sheikh Fali,
No.
and a lot of them was affected, as we seen in the letter of Sheikh Rabi'a, that inshallah ta'ala another time, if Allah grant us, we will finish that particular letter. But however, you see that a lot of them, they had, went in towards them, Sheikh Fawzi al-Athari, who was Sheikh Fawzi al-Bahrain.
We remember when they brought us to these scholars, and they was like the ulama at the time, but they dropped them like a bad habit, and then started putting rulings and hukms on them, and calling them out their name, and slandering the scholars, and getting the books off the shelf.
Likewise, what they did with Sheikh Salam al-Tawil. For many who don't know, with Sheikh Salam al-Tawil in Kuwait, hafidhullah ta'ala, when these brothers, alhamdulillah, they made the attempt to rush down to Washington, D.C., to get in contact with the Sheikh when he was here, when the beloved brothers Akil Ingram and them had a program where Sheikh Salam Tawil was down there teaching. They went down there, contacted the Sheikh, had the Sheikh come up to Germantown, had the Sheikh go around in Philly and so forth. But yet and still, soon after the Sheikh left, it was not even roughly, it wasn't even that long. It was some statements that made with the Sheikh, because they was taken from another scholar at that time, some fitna that had transpired between some other scholars in Kuwait. They took their sides, and then some statements was made against Sheikh Salam Tawil, and the brothers dropped them. Same thing they did with Sheikh Falah, the one who I have an honor to meet actually personally in the hotel. They did the same thing to the Sheikh. They used them in defense of the Minhaj, and then now if you ask them about Sheikh Falah, they won't even mention nothing about Sheikh Falah. This is something that you see a lot, and Sheikh Ruhaili is actually touching on this. So he continues.
بأنه ليس سلفيا. نقول يا أخوة لا ينبغي العجلة في هذا الأمر، بل ينبغي على الإنسان أن يكون ذا أناة، ويجب أن يرجع في هذا إلى العلماء.
So he said this is not for the student, let alone someone who isn't a student, but this is not for the student. I need to place rulings or issue rulings, to be hasty in this particular affair by issuing rulings on scholars or issuing rulings on other individuals. Rather, it is a must and is incumbent and obligatory for them to return this affair of removing someone out of the fold of Salafiya back to the scholars.
No.
You have to take this back to the scholars.
And this was an agreement that our brothers, may Allah forgive them and forgive us all, and when they signed their names to this contract, to this agreement they had with Ibn Hadi, Sheikh Ibn Hadi, Hafizahullah, they didn't keep to it. But this particular thing was in there, not to put rulings on people. It's not your place. Don't give rulings. Don't give hukum. Don't boycott. Don't put tabdir on people. That was in the agreement. And the Sheikh is saying it again. For you brothers who are studying, and you're beginning of your talaba, you're not scholars, you don't have the right to place rulings on people.
وأن يعرض عليهم الأمر عرض من يريد الحق لا عرض من يريد أمرا معينا. لأن بعض الناس يتصل عليه مثلا ويوجه السؤال توجيها معينا ليكون القول كذا.
Pay attention to this. He said there are some people, meaning from the people that calls him, might be from some of the students, they would contact him and they'd be looking for a specific answer, right? They'd be asking him a question to issue a verdict or fatwa or some, advice, and they'd be looking for a specific answer, right? Alhamdulillah. They'd be looking for a specific answer in this particular issue.
يعرض الصورة كما هي، بل يأخذ النقاط المعينة التي يريد أن أقول بناء عليها ولي حق أن.
So the Sheikh, he said, they paint a picture for me in this particular question, that the way that they paint the picture is as if it's supposed to be, rather they come with specific points which they want to lead me actually to base my answer on what they're trying to get it for. So in other words, in layperson terms,
question.
It's a loaded question, and it's about a specific person However, you're asking the scholar in the general sense, and you're painting this picture, and then you want to take that particular answer of the scholar and apply it to land in our land.
Isn't that some form of deception?
It's definitely some form of deception. It's also a form of ghairi ihtiram. It's also a form of not having respect for the scholars. It's also a form of not really utilizing them for the purpose that Allah Jalla wa Ala have placed them here.
Exactly.
All of this can be seen in this bad adab.
أن أقول الأمر كذا، هذا ما ينفع عند الله عز وجل، لأنك الآن في الحقيقة تريد هواك لا تريد طاعة مولاك.
So he said this with this in front of Allah Jalla wa Ala, this doesn't avail them in no way. Because them asking this particular scholar, he's only going to answer based off what was asked to him.
Mm-hmm.
So them doing this, seeking specific answers and so forth is not going to help him. Right? Now in reality, your desire is not to obey the master, meaning Allah Jalla wa Ala. So it's a must that one return back to the well-known scholars, meaning the Rabbaniyin in this particular aspect.
لا بد من الرجوع إلى العلماء الربانيين المعروفين في هذا الباب والعرض عليهم وطلب توجيههم.
So now it's as if the scholar here, Sheikh Suleiman al-Ruhaili, he is as if he is saying that he don't deem himself to be from the scholars of Rabbaniyin.
Mm-hmm.
He's saying that these particular issues that y'all want to place rulings on others by asking me these loaded questions, they should be directed back to the ulama of Rabbaniyin so that they can guide you and give you directions on how to better deal with the situation. So it seems as what the brothers have been doing, and if you pay attention, a lot of the scholars that they introduce us to, besides the major scholars, is that they introduce to a lot of younger scholars.
Mm-hmm.
And they have benefit. The scholars, no doubt. We're not saying that because they're young you don't benefit. We're not saying because they're not from the major scholars you don't benefit. We respect all our ulama. But what they do is they take the younger scholar, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they place the younger scholar and they put these type of questions here, like Sheikh Suleiman al-Ruhaili, Hafidullah is saying, that should be directed to the major scholars, but they bring it to the younger scholar or the smaller scholar, right? And then they take his stand and you see what happened. And it caused chaos. Why does it cause chaos? Because now that particular scholar that they asked that question to, there's a lot of things that scholar don't know, as Sheikh Ruhaili is saying here. They're not privy to what's really going on in that particular country.
You know, and the thing is, you look at, in the major scholars, they keep us kind of blocked away from, the brothers, may Allah forgive them, they do a real good job of keeping it so confused and cloudy that you never know what the major scholars are saying. And if you really research and start to learn, you get Arabic, you start listening to the lectures of the major scholars, you'll be able to call them, you'll see they're saying the total opposite of what's being said to us. The major scholars, so much so that some of the major scholars are even sanctioning and censoring the younger ones about getting into this affair, but we never hear that. And I give you a live example. If somebody comes and he says, this goes to a scholar and says, this brother, he's around Ikhwanis, he's around a known Ikhwani masjid, he's there supporting them, he's there. Now, he said it to a scholar. The scholar, well, from what he heard, the hukum for that person is he's around Ahlul Bid'ah, he's aiding Ahlul Bid'ah, but that's not really what's happening. What's happening is the brother was invited to the masjid to teach. There's no limitations on the brother. He can teach whatever he wants. He gives classes there weekly, and the people accepting his dawah. That's really what's happening. But that's not what's being told to this particular scholar that they surround themselves with. And then we get the loaded answer back from a loaded question, and then we sanction our brother and say he's a deviant because of some lie that was told to a scholar.
And it becomes general in that sense. And brothers and sisters, it's not just a form of deception, meaning that you're going against the amana and the actual agreement, the contract that they signed, and which for this specific reason why Sheikh Muhammad ibn Hadi, and we're going to get into that inshallah, why Sheikh Muhammad ibn Hadi in the first place and a lot of other scholars that he didn't mention on that letter had them sign this agreement. Sheikh Rabi' Hafidullah was aware of this particular agreement, and he was under the impression that the brothers were sticking to this agreement. Why? Because this agreement was placing them in a box to protect them from running what's going on now, to protect them from starting a crowd or a hizb, a group, whereas though it gives them some type of authority wherever they may be at. And this is what they're doing here. So they lead out all of this particular stuff. So Sheikh Ruhaili, and may Allah reward the Sheikh, by him being smart, look what the Sheikh said. These questions in the first place, right, should have been directed to the people that was more suitable, the Rabbaniyin.
No.
But yet you come to me with the question. And then when you present it to me, you paint it in a way and you make it in a way where you leave out a lot of key details.
No.
And you like pretty much guide the question.
Cherry
right?
pick, like the sister said.
Like the sister said, right? And you guide the question. And this is something that's been going on for years. This is not something someone is making up.
Mm-hmm.
If you got everyone is telling you that a particular group of people have been behaving this way for so long, how can you sit there and say, I'm not going to use my brain, I'm going to ignore the facts that this people been doing this for so years? In any place you go that S-Pub, Salafi publications have touched, there's chaos. In any place you go that our noble brothers, quote unquote, respectable brothers, have touched, it has become chaos. If you go to any particular place, you're going to see that this is the actual truth. How many families have been separated? How many families have been, broken up? How many brothers' honors have been tarnished? How many masajids? Like the Masjid Rahma situation. Were you around for this situation? Did you see what happened? How it actually broke an actual administration up. The Germantown situation. If you look at that, how it broken up. People, literally.
I mean, every couple of years there's a new administration there. How can you build a community when every couple of years the administration is overthrown and a new one comes in?
But don't ignore the fact what this scholar is saying right here. Don't ignore it. And stop saying the scholars are not speaking out. It seemed to me Sheikh Ruhaili is speaking out. Pay attention.
في مثل هذا الأمر. وعلى كل حال القاعدة العامة عند العلماء أن السلفية لها أصول معلومة.
And he said that there is a general principle with the scholars pertaining to as-salafiya, the foundation. They're well-known foundations, the usul. This is a general principle. And this speech has been spoken about previously. And whoever opposes them, he has left the fold of salafiya. And like we said, there are general usul. And those usul, and may Allah reward our brother Ali Davis, alhamdulillah, from reading from Sheikh Ahmed Najjar. Those usul that we found out can fall into two things. And we're not trying to get too technical. We're not trying to go too crazy on the night. But those two things in a nutshell, in layperson terms, is that they can fall into things what we call aqidah, creed, staple things that is unanimously agreed upon by the Salaf. Like, for example, wiping over the cuffs. I mean, not wiping over the cuffs. Like, for example, the bridge, crossing the bridge,
punishment
or
of the grave,
believing in the hole, the punishment of the grave.
Not fighting the Muslim governments.
Not fighting the Muslim. These things are staple. If someone go against that, the other thing is masail al-fi'liyah, something that is an action. Now, in that example is like wiping over the cuffs, something like that. So, in these two affairs, these are the usul. This is agreed upon by the scholars, meaning they understood from the Salaf that whoever go against these two things, they have left the fold of Salafiyah. They have left the fold of Salafiyah, right? The usul.
وقد ذكرناها في الكلام. من خالفها خرج من السلفية. من خالفها خرج من السلفية. ومن جاء بها فهو على منهج السلف الصالح.
So now he said, whoever comes with these usul, these foundations, then we can verify that this person is on the minhaj of the Salaf.
So what you're saying to me is that if we have an individual, we don't know him, right? And he has all these usul with him. And just because he disagrees with S-Pubs or Hassan Somali or any of those brothers, any of these other callers, Hassan Malik or any other brothers, if he disagrees with them on an issue, that doesn't remove him from Salafi. Just because he disagrees with S-Pubs.
No, that's not grounds for it. Even if this particular person have thicker beads, it's not grounds for removing them from the fold of Salafiyah. All right? Especially in issues like that, is with ikhtilaf on.
Exactly.
A person having thicker beads, whether you want to take an opinion as a bid'ah or whatever the case may be, it doesn't remove you from the fold of Salafiyah.
It's not from the usul. It's not from the usul. It's not from the foundational principles.
But look how he's answering this question.
صالح رضوان الله عليه. ولكن أقول لا ينبغي لطلاب العلم أن يعجلوا في هذا الباب.
He said, rather I say though, it is not befitting for the students of knowledge to be hasty in this affair. They should not be hasty to place rulings or issue verdicts on somebody.
Mm-hmm.
This is not their affair. Again, this is not me saying it. This is not Brother Isa saying it.
Mm-hmm.
This is not any student saying it. This is actually Sheikh Sulaiman al-Ruhaili. He's saying this, Hafidhullah. And he said it's not permissible for them to put themselves for it. Now let's stop here. Now, it's not for them to be hasty in this affair, nor is it for them to put themselves for it. Right? This meaning what? Placing themselves before the ulama.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The same thing they accuse other brothers of doing. Calling to themselves. Right? They accuse other brothers of doing. Disconnecting people with the scholars. Sounding like they're resembling Yasser Qadi. These are the things that they say. And these are the statements that they say. And they spook you and I. And make you think like, oh, Bid'ah is going to be there. Don't be around those brothers. They're not moving like how the ulama have moved. And in reality, you don't know. You don't know every scholar that is alive.
Yeah.
In reality, you don't know the scholars that they're saying they take it from hold that position. How? When they funnel the information to you in the first place.
No.
When you have not taken the time to learn the Arabic and to consult with other scholars or read into their works, and you'll see they're not talking like this. This is important.
It's scare tactics.
This is important. It's definitely scare tactic, and it's always been this way. And I'm going to leave something out here before I start reading these two tweets of the general praise. I'm going to leave this out here for you to take.
No.
Ask yourself, why do the brothers, Abu Khadija, Hassan Somali, and that's, and all of them, Abu Hassan Malik, why do they always rally with the call, contact the scholars? Ask yourself this. Why do they always rally with, the scholars have endorsed us? The scholars have endorsed us. Why do you think they keep saying this? If you ever noticed the students that come from all over the world, whether it was in Yemen, whether it was in Egypt, you was in Egypt yourself.
Yeah, I was in Egypt myself.
Did your scholar tell you, did any one of your scholars, Sheikh Muslim, Maluk, or even Sheikh Lufti Ahmed, did he tell you when you go back to your city that you have somehow, because you have studied with us, you somehow have, you are representative of us on behalf of you being there? That
No.
you got some type of authority now?
Nope.
That the people should come to you and flock to you because you study with us?
Nope. In fact, one of the things that the Sheikh, he said, return your fist to Kibar al-Imam. He said, don't get in that habit of always saying a Sheikh said.
So here again, no scholar, if you look at all of the brothers that came back from Yemen, they came back from Egypt, they came back from different places, Kuwait, none of the scholars ever told those students to go back to your respective towns and use the fact that you learned with us as a way to control the people, to funnel all the information, and that people come back to you. None. If you look at it, none of the students ever did that. They might establish telelinks, alhamdulillah, like our brother Ali Davis himself, when he was down 15th Street. He brought someone that he knew, a scholar, a judge, and he brought him over. But that judge didn't say after he left, he didn't say, you know what, Ali, you deserve, the people need to come to you now because of the connection that we have with you. Everyone should come now and check in with Ali Davis because he got a connection with the scholars. This is what the brothers been doing for years. They need, go ahead.
You know what's so funny, it's not to cut you off, it's something that I just remember. I remember Sheikh Mahmoud, right? He said the ikhtilaf that he had with some of the scholars, the meaning of Tawhut, right? Which is my personal position. But he told me, before I got back to America, he said, if it's going to cause division amongst you and your people, then keep it to yourself.
So
Look at that.
You can still see, listen, you can still see that there was no control mechanism.
No.
Pay attention to why I'm saying this, because when I read these tweets that y'all been seeing lately out there, this statement, even the video that you saw with the audio with Sheikh Hassan Abanna, our elder, all right, who said that Sheikh Bilal Davis, that Sheikh Hassan Somali, and that Sheikh Abu Khadija is our representatives in the West. I want you to understand that Ibn Salah, he was of the agreement that he considered that general praise, right, it can be accepted without any mentioning of the reason. What does this mean? This means that just because the Sheikh praised them, he don't need a specific reason why he praised them.
Yeah.
We don't have to go into the details why he praised Abu Hassan Malik. Yeah. But now we're going to analyze the second half of what he said. They are our representatives. That can be understood two ways. Our representatives, meaning they are people that we know that take from us, alhamdulillah, that they can share and convey on our behalf.
Yeah.
But do that give them authority? Or is it how the brothers want us to understand? they are a representative, so they are the go-to people back here. When there's plenty of students.
When they're the authority in the land.
Yeah, or they're the authority in land. When there's plenty of students in that particular land that you might be from, and who are might stronger than these brothers, who might got more connection with scholars than these brothers, and major scholars at that they're going to say now, skip past all of them. The fact that Sheikh Hassan, who is another person that's here,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Over all of their levels to put together.
Or if you have other people who are stronger that we might don't know of, from amongst the Tazkiyyah, from amongst the Somalis, from different individuals that we might have that you don't know of, you're going to skip all of them. And let's just say, because Hassan al-Banna, Sheikh Hassan al-Banna, Hafidhullah, he said they are a representative, so that means that everybody now got to go back to Hassan Somali, Abu Khadija, and who?
Yeah, well, it's information control, and it's recruitment control. So the thing is that the next question is, do a scholar have the right and the authority to place somebody in position of authority in our land and say these are representatives?
Before he answer that, I want him to read the statement of Sheikh Muhammad ibn Hadi. Many of you probably came across it, and we're going to mention another scholar who is a major scholar. I want you to pay attention, and I want you to hear what he said. This is a true incident that literally took place, and we're going to tell you about it, inshallah. He's going to read the statement of Sheikh Muhammad ibn Hadi for Salafi Pub. Okay? I want you to look at the tactics now. Because notice the names that have been mentioned specifically. Yeah. Since these videos been happening, the brothers felt as though they have been under attack. So they made sure that when Sheikh Hassan al-Banna, Hafidhullah, gave them a general praise, the names that he's supposed to mention was Bilal Davis. We was talking about him because of the agreement that he signed. Abu Khadija, we was talking about him because of the agreement that he signed. Hassan Somali, we was talking about him because of the agreement that he signed. Now, all three of these individuals on this agreement, their signatures are there, and they get this general praise from Sheikh Hassan al-Banna.
It says here, Sheikh Muhammad ibn Hadi al-Madkhali, Hafidhullah Ta'ala. The fifth issue, this is the Sheikh statement, the fifth issue that I advise you with is that you likewise maintain relations and a connection with this markaz, this center that you are presently referring to, Salafi publications. For indeed, they are from the best of those who we know in the West who call to Allah upon the correct methodology. They call to the correct creed and the correct minhaj. So you should maintain a connection with them and place your hands in their hands. And all of you should cooperate in spreading good in your lands. I ask Allah, you grant us success to attain what He loves and is pleased with. That's the statement of Sheikh.
Now, there are several things that I want to touch on, but I'm going to answer the question that he mentioned first before reading that. Now, we're going to answer it with the statement of Sheikh Luhaydan. For those who don't know who Sheikh Luhaydan is, I would advise you to go back and actually search on the Sheikh. Many there is also on our Facebook page, Darasnet. We post a lot of the classes of the Sheikh Luhaydan. He's a major scholar. Hafidhullah. He's a major scholar. He's up there with the likes of Sheikh Abdul Muhsin al-Abad, Sheikh Salih al-Fawzan, Sheikh Salih Ali Sheikh, the Grand Mufti. He's up there. He's a major scholar. There's no hands down. All right? The brothers knows this. There was a telelink that was established, and this is on good authority, our brother Ali Davis, in his house when he was in Mecca. There was some other brothers that was there as well, and they had a connection with a telelink with Masjid Rahma, with Sheikh Luhaydan. And in this particular telelink, they mentioned to the Sheikh that Sheikh Rabi' Hafidhullah Ta'ala he has, for example, he has represented, or he has sent someone out to represent him in the West. He didn't mention any names. He just said that he have appointed, and that's the word he used. He had appointed Pacific callers in the West. So when the Sheikh heard that, Sheikh Luhaydan, he said it's not for it. First he said Sheikh Rabi' Hafidhullah does not have walaya in the West. Yeah. Not allegiance. He doesn't have authority. He said Sheikh Rabi' Hafidhullah, the Sheikh Luhaydan, he does not have authority. And he said not any scholar has authority to tell anyone, to appoint anyone in a land that they don't have no authority over.
No, you don't have no authority.
I want you to analyze this. Furthermore, from me, and this is not a taunting, it's not criticism towards Sheikh Rabi' in no way, but Sheikh Rabi' himself does not even have authority in the land of Medina or Mecca. He can't he cannot pass fatwas in Mecca or Medina without having permission to do so.
Yeah.
And this is what most of the scholars, you have to understand this. This is not an attack on Sheikh Rabi' Hafidhullah. This is our elder. He's a major scholar. But you got to pay attention now to the wordings here. Sheikh Luhaydan, he said he does not have the authority to appoint someone. Now let's go back to both Sheikh Muhammad ibn Hadi's statement, and let's go back to Sheikh Hassan al-Banna's statement. Representatives and Sheikh Muhammad ibn Hadi, you should work with this center. Okay, that's the Sheikh praise. That's the Sheikh opinion. I deem that these brothers who have been contacting me, who have been asking me questions, who have been coming to visit me, I deem that these brothers are good.
No.
And that you should cooperate with them. But when he said put your hands in their hands, do he mean put your affairs in their hands? La. That would be a contradiction to the agreement that he had with them.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be in contradiction to the agreement that he had
with them.
No, he didn't mean put your affairs in their hands.
So don't try to trick us with this stuff. And and the second thing is this too. We live here. We see the action of our brothers, may Allah forgive them. We see their attitude. We see their actions every day. We see what they're doing. The Sheikh doesn't. So when the Sheikh says that, that's his praise for them from what he knows about them. But we see the reality of them. We see what they're doing every day. So if the Sheikh said that, I have the right to say, well, Sheikh, I don't agree because I'm telling you, I see this, that, and the third. So I hear what the Sheikh is saying, but me, as what I see, I'm not going to, I don't see that.
Furthermore,
I don't see that.
We want to uphold the scholar, unlike what the brothers have done. See, when the brothers do tactics like this, yes, you Somali. Yes, you Abu Khadija. Yes, you brothers who does this. When you do this, this is a form of disrespecting the scholar. And also, it allows the lay people to think bad of that scholar. Because what you're going to ask yourself, you and I, we're going to say, is the scholar aware of what the action of these brothers? Is the scholar aware and he's still endorsing these brothers? Is the scholar aware of what they have done to communities and to families? This is what you're going to ask yourself. Then you're going to start looking at the scholar. And if that's the case, I don't want to take nothing from that scholar. And you see how close and thin line that is? So it's very important that you, brother Somali, be humble. Respect the scholar honor. He don't know everything that you're doing in your land. The chaos that you have caused here in Philadelphia.
It's not your
right?
land.
This is not his land.
Yeah.
He don't know what you're doing, nor do as pubs. They don't know that you're not going against the agreement. They still believe that you're upholding the agreement.
And you're not.
And you're not.
You're not.
You're on Twitter nonstop, you and your whole team, and y'all keep retweeting, and y'all posting up athars, and y'all making rulings, just like we see Sheikh Rahali is saying. It's no rocket science for you to put the pieces together. Any one of you just heard Sheikh Rahali talking, just ask yourself. You don't got to mention it to me. You don't got to mention to Issa. Mm-hmm. Who did you think of when you heard Sheikh Rahali talking about that? You automatically thought of those brothers.
Well, what the agreement is, brother Brooklyn born, the agreement is agreement in 2005 that Sheikh Ibn Hadi, Hafizullah, he had 10 points in this agreement.
Well, it's posted up. You can actually go to our page. Yeah. We have it posted up, inshallah ta'ala, and you can refer back to it. A brother, inshallah ta'ala, will post it up for you. Yeah. But the link is on our page. You can actually go to it, and you can check it out. It's actually been translated, and their signatures are on it. And just so that we can stay clear on this, brothers and sisters, no more allowing ourselves to allow people to take general praise. Yes, the brother, inshallah ta'ala, is going to send it to him, inshallah. Yeah. No more allowing these brothers to come in and take general praise. I want you to pay attention when I said that earlier. Notice how none of the other students who have sat longer than them, who are more stronger than them, who have actually had more scholars than them, as you've seen from the interviews that we have, none of them felt the need to come back to their land and use the card of endorsement by the scholars. None of them had to do that. I tell you why they didn't do this. Because they ain't trying to deceive their people. They don't need that. They was told by the particular scholars they learned from, go back and teach your people.
No, not to create a group or a cult or his. And the reality, if you look at how they move, it's cloudy. You never see how it's coming. You never see what they're doing. And the heads kind of keep their hands clean, and they keep the underlings to do all the dirty work. And I'll give you an example. Charles Manson, we're not putting our brothers like Charles Manson. Charles Manson was a kafir who did all types of evil. May Allah give him what he deserved or got into Islam. And may Allah forgive our brothers. I mean. But I'm saying is, you know what Charles Manson said? He said, I never killed anybody. I just thought that people did it for me. I never killed anyone.
And what our brother Isa is saying here, I just want you to understand that a lot of the people, alhamdulillah, right now, brothers and sisters, you're going to see people periodically going to be on our comment section. Mm-hmm. They're going to say nasty things about us. They're going to say nasty things about the people that we interview. But we want to keep making dua for them. We want to keep, inshallah ta'ala, hoping that they come up out of their stupor, because it's a syndrome. And it's hard because it's a stage of denial. It's hard to believe that people who have earned your trust throughout the years, people that you have looked up to, people who you have followed for some reason, have somehow betrayed that trust and somehow used the fact that they was calling the scholars to lure you in, and you couldn't believe that they were doing these things under your nose. Exactly. You couldn't believe that they were being this treacherous.
No, you can't. It's hard.
It's hard.
It's hard.
We are trying to remedy the situation, and it's still hard for us.
A person feels chunked. I mean, I grew up in these communities. I remember, man, a lot of these guys, we had no beards in our face, learning from some of these same people. And yeah, you come back, and now you have to stand on the side of justice. And it hurts sometimes. You be like, Dad, these guys taught me Aleph Bad Tab. These guys, I used to be in the Surah Al class or the Shah Sunnah classes. These same guys. But truth is truth. It doesn't matter who it's against. And a lie is a lie. And this is how it has to be. If it was my father or my mother doing the same thing, I would have no choice but to speak out and say what they're doing is injustice.
It's definitely injustice. But you and I have to be smart enough to start thinking critically, as our brother Munir mentioned to us, and may Allah reward him for that, so that we're going to have to use our minds. Just because a person got a general praise from a scholar is not a tazkiyyah. And just because a person have a tazkiyyah, as we did the article from our beloved brother, Abu Aliyah, the White Battle, who has the actual page, you can look on it, a tazkiyyah, the difference between a tazkiyyah, all right, and he deals with that. And just because we was reading from that article, and he brought the proofs and the evidence that if you have a tazkiyyah, and there's different types of tazkiyyah, but if you have a tazkiyyah, it doesn't mean that somehow it validates whatever you are upon. It doesn't mean that you are the most knowledgeable. It doesn't mean that someone goes back to you, someone report back to you. Brothers and sisters, we have to start learning for ourselves. As our brother Munir pointed out again. Because the problem is what we're doing is we're allowing these brothers to think for us. And in doing that, you have totally put your trust into these particular brothers' hands. And now when stuff like this happen, all you can think of, you starting fitna. Your videos, you're talking about the Salafi students. Your videos, you're the one attacking the Salafi students. Your videos, you're the one doing such and such and such and such. But you forget, because of your blind allegiance, because of your denial, because of the fact of you've been personality worshiping. It's called spade a spade. Because you feel like that, and I understand. And you've been doing that. You forget that they was dragging Sheikh Tahir's name in the mud. They did the Shadid Muhammad thing wrong. They was dragging a lot of people names in the mud.
Using
they
the
was
minbar
using the minbar for it. When Sheikh Falah told them that the minbar wasn't used for that particular thing, they were doing that. If you would have heard Sheikh Falah when he was on 27th Street, listen what this Sheikh said. I never heard a scholar speak to us like that. I never heard a scholar speak to us in that manner. He said that you all are muqassirun. You are deficient. You are lazy. You don't have no schools and you don't know no Arabic. Why do you think he said this? He said, why do you think he said this? Number one, he visited the UK. It's different. They're more advanced than us. UK, they know Arabic.
Yeah.
UK,
the general person.
They got schools.
Yep.
UK, what else do they have? Islamic courts. So when you look at that, and then you come here to the West, and you see that nobody got it, Sheikh Mukbil said a statement that this should be on all of our minds. He said, in the land of the blind, every one-eyed person is a scholar. And that's exactly what happened here. The brothers, they saw that the people don't know anything, and what do?
Yep, they misused it.
They utilized it, and they took it. And they said, you know what, we're going to run with it. The people are going to say, Somali said, Anwar said, Jamil Finch said, Hamza said, Abu Khadija said, Bilal Davis said. Notice they never going to say, call Allah. They don't know the verse. They're never going to say, Qala Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They don't know the hadith. They're never going to say, Qala Sahaba, Fulan and Alan. They don't know the answer.
So they're going to say Sheikh Fulan.
They're going to say Sheikh so-and-so said. And if we play a clip right now, this is what it's going to sound like. If we was to play this clip from our beloved brother, Abu Khadija, when he say Sheikh so-and-so said, this is our minhaj, right? You have to understand, no, our minhaj, as Sheikh Muqbil have told us, and many of the scholars before him, our minhaj is Qala Allah, Qala Rasulullah, Fahm Salaf. That's our minhaj. That's always been our minhaj. The scholars like Sheikh Uthaymeen, for those who are familiar with his works, he say take from where we took, from the earlier scholars, from many of the Salaf, the A'imma. What did they say?
Nah.
Take from where we have taken, drink from where we have drunk from.
Nah.
Meaning what? Go back to the earlier scholars.
And I ask everybody here right now, if you look at, just take a step back. Take a step back, breathe a little, and just think. 20 years of this. Where's our schools? 20 years of this. Where's the wealth in our communities? We don't hire and fire each other. We don't have any type of wealth. 20 years of this. Where's the social reform? Where's the sins are worse than they've ever been? I mean, where's any of that happened? Our marriages, our divorce rates are probably some of the highest in the country. It's all been nothing but downhill for 20 years. And at some point, you got to blame yourselves. You got to say, you know why? I don't know Arabic. You know what it is? Oh, these guys tell me papers don't mean anything. PhD doesn't mean anything. A master's degree doesn't mean anything. High school diploma doesn't mean anything. I mean, I even heard some of these guys say, we need more, just have school, in the school, just Islam, and less of the math and the science, because that stuff not that important, more important than Islam and things like that.
How can you say that?
How can
when
you say that?
Scholars of the past, they were strong in math. It was mathematicians.
How can you say that? So what do our daughters do? Do they get on Section 8 and welfare? That's the plan for them? Just to get married, lay on their backs, have kids, get on welfare, and be on Section 8? That's the plan?
And also for you to understand this, for many people don't know, the statement of Sheikh Muqbil, rahmatullahi ta'ala alayh, about him ripping up his masters, I want you to understand something. The Sheikh, when he ripped up the Shahada, it wasn't that he was downgrading or downplaying masters. He didn't downgrade the degree. What he was doing, so that you can understand, what he was telling you is that I did not enter the field of seeking knowledge just for this paper. And this paper doesn't make or break me, because I am doing this for the fear of Allah Azza wa Jal. I am doing this so that I can get closer to my Lord. This is in contrast to just disagreement. When you weigh it up towards that, now it makes more sense. But when they leave that off to you, see, they make you think that you don't need a degree. No, you do need a degree. Sheikh Fawzan, Hafidhullah, he said that as for degrees, this is his statement. He said then about degrees and shahadas, then they are used in the academic world. They are used in the professional world. Mm-hmm. So you need to acquire them for that particular reason. And on top of that, when it comes to basic ilm, it comes to implementation, fearing Allah Jalla wa Ala, then the degree, a person can have it and he still can be off. A person cannot have it and he still, Allah Jalla can favor him. Look how Sheikh bin Baz himself, he never had one degree. He didn't have a doctorate. He didn't have a master's, but he became Sheikh al-Islam. He became Sheikh al-Islam. So we're not saying that degrees don't hold weight. Yes, they do. But the brothers don't give you the contrast.
And I've never met a scholar without one. Sheikh Said al-Islam had one as a doctor.
No.
Exactly. Tib. He actually an actual literally a doctor who does in the medical field. He has degrees in it. In hadith, he has degrees in it. Sheikh Mahmoud Amr has a lawyer degree.
Yeah, but the issue is not about the degrees. You got to understand why they did that. And this is where you have to be honest with yourself. You got to admit, the brothers started attacking the degrees angle because the people that they were talking about, yes, Abu Khadija is a school teacher. Yes, that's true. That's true. Yes, so our brother Dr. Abdullah, yes. And a biologist, yes, that's true. They accept degrees. But understand the reason why they caught themselves in the jam. They started attacking degrees because the people that they wanted you and I to not take from had degrees. So in order to belittle them and their status in the eyes of the people, they had to attack the degree angle. but they didn't know that it was going to come backfired on them. They didn't understand that was going to backfire on when they did that. That's why it's very important, brothers and sisters, when it comes to the field of dawah and the field of knowledge, take from the people who are skilled in that particular field. Take from the people who are trustworthy with the amanah that Allah Jalla wa Ala placed upon them to learn. Take from them individuals. Stop seeing this and making excuses. These are brothers. They wouldn't do that. These are brothers. No, this is your fault. Yes, they will do that. We are humans.
Yusuf brothers did it to him.
Exactly. Yes, they will do that.
Salam.
This is why Allah Jalla wa Ala tells Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam over and over, Ya ayyuhan nabi ittaqullah. Ya ayyuhan rasul ittaqullah. Ya ayyuhan nas ittaqullah.
No.
Why do you think Allah Jalla wa Ala keep telling Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam over and over throughout the Quran? Fear Allah.
The humans can fall.
Fear Allah.
Yep.
Fear Allah. What do you think this reminder is for? Over and over. So you beloved brothers, yes, fear Allah. Yes, me and Isa, fear Allah. We have to make sure we are sincere in our call. These brothers are utilizing the scholars and they are defaming them and they are using deception, and many of the scholars are not aware of what's going on. So we're going to uphold the honor of Sheikh Muhammad ibn Hadi.
No.
And we're going to make the excuse for our beloved Sheikh.
You know what Sheik's going to
But we're not going to hold up these brothers' honor.
The Sheikh doesn't speak English. And he's not on Twitter. He's not on Facebook looking at English pages. He's not in America. He doesn't have a bug in the masjid listening to conversations. The scholars have no clue of the underhanding, of the shortcomings, of the lies and the deceptions that are going on in Philadelphia from those particular brothers, misquoting the scholars, using salafiya in a bad light. The scholars have no idea. And the scholars who do know about it, they're saying something about it. Like we'll see Allah Bash, Sheikh Ruhaili, Sheikh Suhaimi, and other than them who are now finding out some of these things. And they are speaking out about it. But some scholars don't know. The scholars that keep praising them guys, you think Hassan al-Banna, this elder who's been around 90 years, wisdom, the alim in Egypt, if he knew of the undercutting and the evils of these particular individuals, that he would say that they are representatives? Then you thinking the bad thoughts of the Sheikh. I don't think that. And
even if he said they are representatives, that still doesn't give him to say that they are authority or a mortgage.
Exactly.
That don't mean that they are the authority in that land, because he don't have the authority to do that. Nor do they mean they are the ones you return your affairs back to. No, listen to the general praise. That mean what? It mean, okay, you can cooperate with the brothers. If the brothers happen to be teaching, alhamdulillah, benefit. That don't mean, for example, that I can just say, you know what, I have this issue, I need to contact Somali because he's the quote-unquote student and he's the authority in the land because Sheikh so-and-so endorsed him. And then this is the double standards, even with lay people. Lay people do this. You don't even know none of these scholars. And then you grow this love because your love for these particular personalities, and you sit there and pick and choose what scholar statement you're going to take. You hear Sheikh Rabia said this about Sheikh Tahir. You never heard the actual recording anyway. None of us heard the audio of Sheikh Rabia saying anything about Tahir. That's number one. Number two, he never said remotely what these brothers are saying. No. He never said remotely what they're saying. And number three, again, that he actually, he's someone, Ikhwani. He's someone of
he's worse than drinking alcohol.
He's worse than drinking alcohol. He never said none of these things. And now on top of that, what is worse, you won't take nothing that you hear from Sheikh Saleh Suhaimi about Abu Khadija.
Or Sheikh Wasil al-Abbas.
Or Sheikh Wasil al-Abbas. Two major scholars. Then it's 7 more scholars after that.
They called him a liar.
And not a student.
And not to take from him.
But you ignore that. I don't know how the lay people do that. How you ignore those scholars, but yet and still demand others to take Sheikh Rabi'a. How can you do that?
The reason they ignore it because, like I said, it's a cult characteristic. What you do is that a cult, they create this environment where there's certain names of personalities inside this environment. The scholars are free from it. But these brothers have created that environment to where as though it's like within this ball, there's a certain names and certain catchphrases and certain things that catch your eye. Like you turn the light on, you look, and it's like a buzz that goes in. You like this. They're trained. So what happens is that you say this name, everybody goes like that. It's like you say this name, everybody goes like that. So what they've done is they created an environment to where there's certain names in this environment. So if you don't mention these names, then even though they don't say that those scholars aren't scholars, but they have created the environment that certain names are more trustworthy to them. It's a trustworthy brand.
They have triggers. Exactly.
It's a trigger.
They have definitely triggers. Also, you want to look at this. Why do you think we've been doing the interviews? The interviews was not so we could tell big gossip on so-and-so. And that's people misunderstand that. We never had the intent of doing any interviews so that we can blast the other side out. There's no other side. It's just the hawk, and there are those who oppose it. in the sense of what I mean, and those who don't understand it, or those who are not annoyed. We're not saying that we're trying to blast the other side of, because this is what they're accusing us of. You're only doing interviews with people who got something to say about the other brothers. La, that's not what we're doing interviews for. That's not the point. The main reason why we do interviews is to introduce to our people who of other students from other different cities and from your cities who are qualified, who actually studied, who actually benefited, and who actually have academics. If you look at the students that we have interviewed, and you look at some of the academic accomplishments that they have, and you weigh it towards the brothers that you've been screaming their names for the last 20 years, and you weigh it towards them and their academic accomplishments, it won't add up. It's no lie.
There's no add up.
There's no add up. So when you see the contrast between that, what you want to say to yourself? I'm still going to follow so and so who doesn't have any, subhanallah, who doesn't have any of the accomplishments or the quality to deal with a community. That is, I don't know how to call that. That's not you. You just threw away your aql. That's the only way I can say it.
And another thing is those brothers, common sense. Those brothers that's giving the interviews, it's not a whole bunch of evil surrounding their names either. You know,
exactly. That's another point. And we don't want to attack them.
No,
and
we're not mentioning no specific.
Yeah, we don't want to mention no allegations or no sins because, like we said, we're against that. And we never once. We want to uphold the brothers in the sense that we don't want to get like them. That's like Sheikh Islam said, the brother reminded us, that they do nothing back but name call. Another thing I want to get out of this before we done is I want to get all of us to start thinking. Demand those brothers to respond back. Why haven't they respond back to legitimate questions? Why they didn't explain to us why they didn't stick to that agreement? Why haven't they respond back to Sheikh Rabia's letters? How come they didn't respond back to Ali Davis' letter? How come they didn't respond back to Alia's question? How come they didn't respond back? Ask them why they didn't respond back. Not, they're Ahlul Bidah, they're sympathizers, they're Mumayyid, they're people who water down the dawah. They forget the people who've been here in the trenches. I never saw the scholars ever in my life get together and do a lecture on the efforts that they put forth in the dawah. You won't find one scholar mention the efforts that he put forth in the dawah. Nope. But you find these brothers doing whole lectures on respect to students and the efforts that they put. We was on ground zero, warned against Ahlul Bidah. And was it accepted? Did you do it correctly? Was you told to do that? Was it informed by that? Are you skilled? Are you qualified to do that? What books have you studied? What science have you covered? In the Gaul, as our beloved brother Abu Hassan Malik, he said that Naim, Abu Abdullah, is not to be put in front of the people to benefit from. You're talking about a man, and I don't want to break Naim back, but you're talking about a man who memorized 1,600 hadiths. He memorized Riyadh Salihin. You're talking about he read half of one scholar in Yemen, and he read the other half of another scholar. And then before that, he memorized the Quran. Someone who had met Naim, and Naim don't know this. I have met a lot of brothers who met him when he was in Egypt and Yemen, and I asked about Naim's character. They said that he would walk around with his son Abdullah, and they would sit and go back and forth. And every time you see that man, he always going over benefit, always going over benefit. And you tell me that this brother cannot be in front of the people. Many of those scholars you see in this interview that he took from and he benefit from, but he cannot be in front of the people because he didn't study books on criticism. Nuqta al-Shara'i. And this is Abu Hassan Malik saying that. So Naim, since Naim, alhamdulillah, and his character, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raise him, his character, look what he said back to Abu Hassan Malik. He said, who did you study those books with?
No.
Who did you finish those books with? Don't tell me you set up a dawah. You only went over, I went over and sat in a little class, or I went to Sheikh Rabia's house, and you equate that to knowledge. Sheikh Rabia himself said that muhadarat, lectures, are not considered seeking ilm.
No.
That's not ilm. Ilm is actually tahsil. You have to actually study. You have to actually study. I mean, that's what you saw Mufti.
The Mufti said
there
was people over there studying in Medina with them who was sitting so long studying, they got sick and they back and legs started hurting. They got bruises on it from sitting so long studying. The brother Mufti, the book Hidayah, he took the book, him and two other brothers, and republished it and rewrote it and to takhrij of the ahadith in there. He went from the bab of Hajj to the bab of Bay'. Put the book back together. That was the dissertation.
SubhanAllah. And I want to mention this, brothers and sisters, please be ease. Do not call our brothers out of name. I know you might feel something. I know it's geared for the deen, but we don't want to call them out of their names.
No.
We're not going to fall into the same that they felt into. And we're still going to remember that they are our brothers. We want them to come up off it. And this is the reason why a lot of people don't know how to refute people. When you refute people, you don't have to refute them with nastiness. You don't have to really hate. You're supposed to hate that which they do. You don't have to literally hate them to the point where now you can never recover. You can never go back and reconcile if they come up off of that what they on. We don't do that.
No.
I'm not endorsing that. I don't endorse people speaking ill of any of these brothers. We're not speaking ill of them. We just want them brothers to admit to their wrong, stop what they're doing, and apologize to the people as well to the students that they have spared their names throughout the years. We want them brothers to step down. Hawk is hot, but we don't want to call them out of their names. You know why? Because if we do that, then we're no better than them.
Nope.
We're no better than them.
That's why we make dua for them. That's why we say, may Allah preserve them. We're never going to speak. We don't use the names on the minbar. We don't talk about them on the minbar neither. And we don't say, don't take from them. And we don't say, don't go pray in the masjid. And we don't say they're deviants. And we don't call them fasikun. And we don't call them criminals out in the open. And we don't say the brothers are this and that and is this. Even though they do it back to us.
No, some brothers accuse us of calling and using terms like cult, and fanatics.
Yeah.
All right, so let's explain the reason why we use the term cult. Our brother Abu Ali have consulted with a lot of specialists and ex-cult members, and he had gathered over a 4-year period of time before putting those papers out. And he have gathered from intelligent people characteristics that are similar to a cult. Yeah, some people don't like the word cult. I don't like to use the word cult, but you got to call a spade a spade. There are some people who follow these brothers that are willing to jump off a cliff for these brothers. They don't care what proof you bring. They don't care if the scholars are saying the opposite, totally opposite what they're saying. They're so focused on these are the noble brothers. You cannot speak about them. One brother said, we'll hunt you down.
Yeah,
what did he say? You speak ill of anyone. One brother said, Somali said out of his mouth, I will never let you speak ill of Abu Khadija. These are the statements.
One brother said, take a bullet for Hassan Somali.
These are the statements that brothers are making. One brother called, what he call Abu Khadija? The revival of the Minhaj al-Salaf.
The defender of the Sunnah.
And we got 7 scholars calling him a jahil. How did you equate a jahil, someone is ignorant from 7 scholars, 2 of them being majors, to someone being a reviver of the Salafi Minhaj?
Well, Wasi Abbas himself said Abu Khadija and his followers.
You don't want to get into that. That's another can of worms.
That's another case. He said, and his followers.
He actually attribute followers to Abu Khadija.
That's a cult.
That is a cult. But listen, again, we're not placing any hukums on the brothers.
Exactly.
But we're not, at the same time, when a lot of brothers keep duping the innocent.
No, we're not.
And destroying our communities.
We're not going to keep doing
And this brother Somali, if he do not respond, and the longer he take to respond, I'm going to tell you right now what's going to happen. The people that you're sitting up there in front of, they're going to start questioning you. They already question themselves. That's why they're in denial. And that's why they're attacking out. They're going to start questioning you. And they're going to start wondering why you haven't responded since these videos started. Since these brothers been on your case. You have not responded intelligently yet. No, because you know why, brothers and sisters? They can't go run and get a fatwa now from a scholar. Even if it's a minor scholar. They don't want nothing to do with them. They can't run back and do what? It's almost over. They can't do these things no more. They can't do this. So in terms of that, even if you, and it's not from hikmah. I know a lot of brothers want us to go up there and confront them. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not from hikmah to go up there and confront them. I'm going to tell you why. Number one, again, we're talking about fanatics. You're going to have some people up there who cannot even understand what's going on. And they're going to fight change. And they're going to fight this movement, even if it's right. So they're going to lash out before they think. So if me and Issa was to go into Germantown Masjid right now, you think it's going to be an easy talk? We might be in there rumbling.
Well, Hassan himself got a bad temperament, you know, man.
Exactly. That don't make sense. What makes sense for those guys is that the community up there is going to get rid of them. This is their sunnah. The community up there, trust me and believe me, they are going to get rid of Somali. Or he's going to step down. They're going to get rid of him. And these videos not going to stop until he's done. It still don't make sense. Because now we're going to have to go up there with a crew of people who might don't have the same mentality that we have. And now they're going to go up there with their prepared, and they're going to go up there with their experience, and then it's going to be a bunch of emotions running around, and a shaitan playing in the middle of that. This is the best way. The best way is to wake the people up and let the people decide who they want in front of them. That's what we can do. We're waking the people up and we're letting the people decide who they want in front of them. And trust and believe. Black people, all you got to do is show black people that they've been duped.
Yeah.
And what they going to do?
Yeah, they mess around and somebody mess around and get hurt. We hope that doesn't happen. But all you got to do is make our people believe they've been chumped.
That's all. That's all you got to do.
Make our people believe they was chumped. They're going to rise up. They're going to say, we done had enough of this. It's time for you to go. And all you got to do is keep showing them, hey, you don't have no school yet. Hey, your women and children have a future. Hey, and the women going to start looking at their men funny.
Hey, you sold a building that someone was a martyr for.
Yeah.
Hey, what happened to that? Hey, you did this. Hey, you did that. And they're going to keep asking these questions. Hey, you cover up for this one. Hey, you did this. Hey, these brothers are saying X, Y, and Z, and you have yet to respond. Don't entertain the Ahlul Bidah. Don't respond to the people of Bidah. They are sympathizers. No one can keep listening to that. That's old. And these praises that you're trying to use generally to make it a Tazkiyyah, they're not working either.
No, why? Because
no
every time we
them.
see it on Twitter, we're going to have a class on it that night.
I would love to do an interview with Somali. Wallahi, I would love to do an interview with Somali. I would love. If you could pull it off, tell him to come down here. Somali, he come down here and sends these videos. And he claims to the community he don't look at them. But guess what? He ain't going to come do no interview. That's not his way. He's not going to sympathize with us. We Ikhwanis. We sympathize with other people that are Ikhwanis. His bill, he's not going to do that. They're not going to do that. They're not going to come down here and do interviews. I would do an interview with any one of them. I would love to do an interview, and I'm going to be honest with you, with Shadeed Muhammad.
Yeah.
I would love to do an interview with Shadeed Muhammad.
Hear his side of the story.
And let's hear his side of the story. And yes, I'm going to give him some tough questions. Yes, I'm going to ask him why he been moving the way he been moving. And yes, I'm going to ask him his proof for what he been doing. I would love to do an interview with him. Also, I would love to do an interview when the brother come. And many of you might not going to like it. You might say things about us. Abu Osama.
Yeah.
We need to know the other side. As pubs, we're no longer taking your lead on anything no more. You're not the lead authority on nothing. We're not taking your lead. We need to see the other side.
This is Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, not London, the UK. So we're not taking anything from you anymore. And anytime you say something, you got to show proof for it.
And we want to see the proof. Not a blanket statement of a scholar.
We're not trying to hear it. And Hassan, S-Pubs, Germantown, Master, Sunnah, you are not the authorities in Philadelphia. The days of you controlling the dawah, the days of you controlling the information, the days of you refuting everybody, the days of you slandering people, the days of all this chaos and all this evil happening, it's done and over. We're fed up with it. And alhamdulillah, we're going to get brothers together. We're going to get our communities back. We're going to try to fix all the evil and poison that you have done over 20 years. And by Allah's permission, we're going to iron all this stuff out. But it's going to be without you.
And it's going to have to take help from the lay people. Stop being, if you had enough, then have enough. It's time for the lay people to stand up. Demand more. Question these brothers. I don't care about the books that you're teaching from right now. Demand more. You want to support? You want things to change? Then demand more. Because that's what they did when they took over Germantown. They took it over. They took the masjid twice.
By force.
By force. Now demand more.
And it's not permissible to do that.
And if you want to say that they didn't take it by guns and they didn't take it by this, we're not saying that. Force is force. Whether it's by way of words, whether it's by way of intimidation, whether by way of oppression, whether by way of weapons, force is force. They took it over and they took it from people, and that was just bottom line. And if this is what they want to do and continue to do, you lay people need to stop them. And you need to say, you know what, that's done. That's done. And we're going to preserve the people, inshallah. No. And we're going to make dua for the people that, trust me, when this all said and done, a lot of people right now, brothers, it's going to be a lot of people, because of their trust, they're going to need our helps. Because after this, coming from the nation and coming from all this and then being hoodwinked from these people and these people, it's going to hurt them. Yeah. And it's going to be really like push a lot of them away from really what they know of Islam because of all of this. Some people now, because of the videos, they can't take the back and forth. They can't take one student saying this and one student saying that. Some people, are crying and stuff like that because they can't take it. And what's going to happen for them is that they're going to need our help to guide them by the hand. It's okay to realize that people errs. This is what the Quran and Sunnah is for. This is why the Prophet ﷺ said, I left you with two things. If you stick by them, you won't go astray. So it's easy to go astray from these things if you don't stick by these principles. It can happen to any one of us. So let's try to take the hands of our people and grab them by the hands and say, you know what? Don't worry about that. We're not going to let you slip. We're not going to let you slip. We're not going to let you slip. Yeah, we would love to do an interview with him as well. But our fellows, we'd love to do an interview with him as well. Let's know the other side. Let's know the other side. But people that the ulama, and they have mentioned, and they have laid it down. And one day we're going to show you, when we finish the letter of Sheikh Rabi', how he refute other people and how he mentioned their statements, their things, and how he dealt with them for 7 years, for 8 years, for 9 years. Keep talking to him and dealing with this. We're going to show you the difference. Because they didn't do that with Shadeed Muhammad.
No.
No, they didn't do that with Shadeed Muhammad. Barakallahu feek. Inshallah ta'ala. That's it, man. Your brothers are done, inshallah.
Yeah,
stay tuned for the next interview. We got coming up real soon with some good
But just to answer
brothers.
the question before we go on, somebody said, is this not going to social media? Is this not backbiting or slandering? No, it isn't. Actually, it's permissible to mention names. It's a class we already gave on that.
Refer back to that.
Refer back to the class. So it should be on, I think it's on our page. I don't know if it's on YouTube yet. It's on the Mektaba page. What's the name of it?
Clarifying the doubts that you cannot go publicly.
Clarifying the doubts.
Also, we mentioned it in Sheikh Rabi'ah's letter.
Yeah, clarifying the doubts you can't go public when advising somebody. Sheikh Rabi' did it in his letter. Sheikh bin Baz said it's up to the people who are advising if they see the benefit in it. But what these brothers are doing are out in the open. It has destroyed a whole community, a whole city. So it is out in the open, so we're advising it out in the open. But we haven't slandered them, we haven't spoken ill of them, we haven't attacked their honor. But what we're doing is permissible. You can go back to the actual class, clarifying the doubts or giving advice in public. And you can see Sheikh Rabi' himself put the letter on the internet of Sheikh Falih al-Harabi, and he mentioned them by name. This is on the internet for everybody to see. So it is permissible when it's needed.
No. Jazakallah khairan. Subhanakallah wa bihamdih. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.